Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminita Namini. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadbeta Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, yesterday we completed the 15th chapter, which spoke about the genealogical line further from Bharat Maharaj. So, it was not just a mere list of names. We were discussing yesterday that how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu valued not just the devotees, but anyone connected to the devotees. So if this is the mood of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, then how much more should be our mood, is what we were discussing. And then we were discussing that this verse, famous verse, Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. How Tadiya, worship of the devotee, is greater than the worship of the Supreme Lord. We were discussing yesterday that this does not indicate that the ontological position of a devotee is superior to that of the Supreme Lord. It just means that worship of the devotee is more indicative of the love that the jiva has towards the Supreme Lord than the worship of the Lord Himself. So that is why we were seeing that in the description of a Prakrita Bhakta or a Kanishta Adhikari, he is seen to worship the Supreme Lord with faith, but he is not showing respect to the devotee or proper respect to the devotee. So that was mentioned as a sign of Prakrita Bhakti or material, you can say like sentimental devotion. It is not proper devotion. So therefore, in the same sense, worship of the devotee is more indicative of love. So in that sense only we understand. Otherwise, these genealogical lines, many of whom are not even proper devotees, it makes no sense, What is the need? I might as well, hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sarvabhauma Grihe Dasa Dasi Ye Kukkur Seva Mora Priya Anya Jane Rahe Dur, he says. So in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, it does not matter who it is, whether it is the servant or the servant maid or even a dog is very dear to me. But this does not hold good about anyone else. So which means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have told, I love Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. But that goes without saying. So when he says, even a servant or a servant maid or even a dog in his house is very dear to me, that indicates the depth of his love for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. That indicates the depth of his love for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Okay. So like say, for example, if someone owns a restaurant, okay, and if his friend comes, and if he says, okay, you don't have to pay, you can have it for free. And when the friend's parents come, But if he charges for them, that indicates that his friendship with that friend is weak. But if he does not charge for the parents also, it indicates a greater depth. What if his aunt and uncle come? If he does not charge for them also, that indicates a much more deeper love for his friend. What if someone comes and he says that, you know what, when I was in my fifth grade, your friend was my classmate, he says. And he says, okay, okay, oh, really? No, no, you don't have to pay for the meal. That indicates a very, very, very deep affection for the friend. So you see, that is how Tadiyanam Samarchanam. That does not mean that he treats, um, um, that does not mean that the position of the of um, friend of his friend or friend of his friend of his friend is superior. It just means he's showing love to his friend of his friend of his friend of his friend, indicates the depth of his love for his friend. So, therefore, what is a more reliable symptom of love is how far, you know, how much you are willing to respect and love a person who is far removed from the relationship with your beloved. How you are willing to treat the third cousin of your beloved. How you are willing to treat that person. That is a more reliable symptom of the depth of one's love towards one's beloved. So, if we are feeling bored or if we see no sense in hearing about the genealogical line of these great devotees, then it is just a symptom that uh, it is just a symptom that our affection for the Lord is very superficial or it's very weak. It's very weak. So that is something that we need to understand. So these genealogical lines are, in one sense, the litmus test. Description of these genealogical lines are our litmus test, you can say. Okay, so how much do you love the Supreme Lord? So it means, how eager am I to hear about even these genealogical lines? Okay. Even now we are going to discuss about Vedic cosmology, starting with this chapter. Almost till the end of this canto. For the next 10 chapters, it's going to be description of Vedic cosmology, 10, 11 chapters. Now, it may be boring for most of us, but this is the Lord's creation. This is the Lord's creation. Sarvabhauma grihe dasa dasiye kukur seho mora priya anya jane rahe dur. So if the Lord feels for a dog in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I mean, in those days, they did not have pet dogs. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have told Dasa Dasiye Kukur, it just means a dog which might just come and incidentally rest in front of the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's not that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had a pet dog, a Pomeranian or a Labrador or something like that. No, it is just a stray dog which would come and sit in front of his house. Maybe Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's wife would feed the dog some leftover remnants. That dog Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking about. But this material world is a personal creation. Of course, not personal creation, but creation of the Lord's energy. So it's not that you get attracted to the nitty gritty of the creation, but there has to be a stimulation of interest in it because it has a connection with the Supreme Lord. Just like you have parents of a Nobel laureate in physics or mathematics, let's say. Uh, and he is going to present his Nobel acceptance speech. But the parents are practically, they have very basic education. They can understand only very basic mathematics, multiplication, division, subtraction, addition, etc. Now he is going to present his Nobel acceptance speech where he is going to present to the leading mathematicians about his work in mathematics, which would very likely be incomprehensible even to the PhDs in mathematics. But here are parents who are who have very basic knowledge of mathematics. They are not going to understand head or tail of it. But because they have genuine love for the son, anything that he speaks, it is like nectar to the ears of the parents. It is like nectar to the ears of the parents. They may not understand anything. They may have absolutely no interest in the subject matter, but they have absolute interest in the son. Okay. And when they see, and they're going there to see how the other people are receiving his message, that they want to see. I remember, just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Because it's reaching 100, let me just share the link. So, yeah, I will share something with you. Some of you, actually, when I was in GV, I was in GV till 2021, I guess. Yeah, 2021. And practically till COVID, I was dead against any kind of online classes and anything like that. It was only physical. That was the only thing that I was always enjoying. So I had no faith in this online Zoom classes and all those things. But COVID changed everything. COVID changed everything. So even when COVID hit, I was still focusing only on physical classes within GV. I was at GV. And there was no online relay of, classes at GV, whether it is Bhagavatam class or anything of that sort. So practically, my parents had, in all these years, never had an opportunity to hear from me personally, Bhagavatam or anything of that sort. Especially my father. Es- Especially because my father had no interest in spirituality as such, no interest in spiritual discourses as such. Uh, so, and so for the first time, some of you might remember, somehow I was convinced to give online sessions on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Madhurya Kadambini. If you remember, the rediscovering Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and self-evaluation tools on the path to Bhakti, that series. Okay, that was in, I think, 2021, I guess, 2020 or 2021. That was the time, first time. So, it was like on YouTube, you're appearing. That was like a big excitement for my parents, actually, especially my father. My mother was already hearing classes, but for my father, his son is coming on YouTube was a very big thing. Okay. He had no interest in spiritual subject matters at all. Okay. But the only interest that he had was to see that his son was coming on YouTube. That was a very big thing. So every single day, when this rediscovering Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, episode or the self-evaluation tool episode would come, both father and mother would sit in front of the laptop and very eagerly wait. But my father's main interest was the comment section. You know, what the other people are commenting about my son's classes. Okay. So my mother would be hearing the subject matter. My father would be looking at the comments. How other people are receiving my son's discourse. You know, are they appreciating? Are they not appreciating what comments they are giving? So, you know, so during those phone calls, he used to ask, hey, who is this? Who is this Radha Krishnan? He keeps appreciating you all the time, like that. Not about the subject matter that I spoke, but it was the comment section. This is very natural, right? So therefore, why he should be interested? There are many, many spiritual discourses on YouTube which were there by then. He was not interested. But when his son came on YouTube, he was interested in it, for his son. So therefore, anything connected to Krishna, uh, the more distantly it is connected with Krishna, but still if we have interested because of its connection with Krishna, that indicates our depth of attachment to Krishna. So therefore, we can take these genealogical lines, the creation pastimes, the destruction pastimes, how much we have, you can say, how much we have interest in these things can be suggestive of how deeply we have developed love for Krishna. How deeply we have developed love for Krishna. That is why you see the classic examples, my great example, role models are, Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu for this. There used to be classes in Bengali in Mayapur, and they can't speak or understand Bengali. But after their days, services are over, DT services are over. They used to go and sit in that Bengali Bhagavad Gita class or Bhagavatam class just because they know that the Lord that they are so lovingly serving from morning to night is being glorified by someone. They go and sit there. Okay. And someone maybe 30 years, 35 years junior to them are sitting and giving class. And but they are sitting there and hearing a Bengali class, which they cannot understand. The only thing is the Supreme Lord is being glorified there. So this is actually Tadiyanam Samarchanam. So these sections of genealogical lines, the Vedic cosmology, you can say these are litmus test for all of us. Oh, this is boring. I will skip it. Which means, yeah, our attraction to Krishna is weak. Our attraction to Krishna is weak. And there is nothing wrong in it. It is good to know that rather than imagine that I have a very deep uh, attraction for Krishna. It is important. Better we learn it and understand. Okay, this is my level of attraction to Krishna. Okay, better I know it rather than be under the illusion that I have great attraction for Krishna. Like that. Sometimes, we may have attraction only to the uh, intimate pastimes of Krishna, the sweet pastimes, only that much. But may have absolutely no taste for the other pastimes. That may mean that actually our attraction to those Krishna's pastimes is also more on a sentimental level, there on the level of genuine affection for Krishna, which is not wrong. We can just that we have to identify it and try to improve from there. That's all. So now let us start the 16th chapter, which is titled as Description of Jambudvipa. Okay. So this chapter starts with question by Parikshit Maharaj. So here, just give me one second. Raja Uvacha, Uktastvaya Bhumandala Ayama Vishesho Yavad Adityastapati Yatra cha Asau Jyotisham Ganehi Chandrama va Sahadrishyate. King Parikshit said, Uktastvaya, you have described Bhumandala Ayama Vishesha, the specific dimensions of Bhumandala. Yavad Adityah Tapati, which extends as far as the sun shines. Yatra, and within which Jyotisham Ganaihi Chandramasaha, the moon along with the other luminaries are seen, Drishyate. So he's telling that you have described the specific dimensions of the Bhumandala, which extends as far as the sun shines, and within which the moon along with the other luminaries are seen. So which means beyond the Bhumandala or below the Bhumandala, the lower planetary systems, the sunlight does not reach. There is no illumination by sunlight. That is not there. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti in his commentary says, the 16th chapter describes the dimensions of Jambudvipa and Sumeru, which is the middle of the continents and mountains. Parikshit inquires about the dimensions of the islands and oceans, which he heard about in the story of Priyavrata after the topic was completed in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.130. See, now this is not rocket science. This is not rocket science. Same principle. You see, now Parikshit Maharaj had only 7 days to live. Parikshit Maharaj had only 7 days to live. He could have directly asked about the 10th canto pastimes. Okay. Or even, sometimes when a sincere student is preparing for board exam and he has some doubts about particular sections of the subject, and so he approaches his physics teacher and he says, can you please explain this particular section? If the physics teacher thinks that this portion is not going to come in the exam, so you are wasting your time, the teacher could have told, well, I can definitely teach this to you after exam, but from the examination perspective, this is not important. You don't have to focus on this. So the teacher can choose not to explain that subject matter if he felt that it was not important. But Shukadev Goswami is going to answer this. Because attention to details is a sign of love. Attention to details is a sign of love. To an outsider, those details may sound absurd. Absurd. What are you going to do knowing what island was there? This is no, because it was created by Priyavrat Maharaj, who was a great devotee of the Lord. Parikshit Maharaj's interest in the details is a sign of his affection for Priyavrat Maharaj, who was a great devotee of the Lord, and therefore it is a sign of his great affection for the Lord. Otherwise, if you see, the mother calls the son, okay, and she wants to get all the details of what food he had. Like, when I was at GEV, the phone calls used to be very, very similar. Same phone call. What did you have for breakfast? Upma. What did you have with upma? Okay. Okay. Rasam or chutney, whatever. What did you have for lunch? Rice, dal, sabji, chapati. No, 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 no. What sabji? What dal? Okay. How many chapatis did you eat? Okay. So all these details every day. Now for a third party observer, how many times you think he can hear this phone call? Netflix, you put the, 50 days phone call conversation between Balram Shaktidas and his mother. How many people do you think would be interested in watching it or hearing it? No one, because it's almost like Xerox copy every day, same thing. But those details are relishable. Why? Because those details are connected to someone whom the mother loves. So, but the same mother, if she has to hear such a phone conversation between some other mother and the son, it would be boring actually. It would be boring. So this attention to details that Parikshit Maharaj is asking is actually a sign of Parikshit Maharaj's love for Krishna. For us, these are irrelevant details because we are not able to see the connection with Krishna. Or sometimes we are interested in details because we are interested in cosmology and not Krishna. Okay. Prabhu, actually, this cosmology really excites me. That may be the case sometimes. Or sometimes someone is interested very much in what do sadhus eat. So they may hear the conversation 50 days. I will take a note of, what they served in breakfast, what they served in lunch, what they served in dinner, so that I get an understanding of what do these sadhus eat. So this is not that kind of an interest in detail. that Parikshit Maharaj has. His interest in detail is a sign of his love for Krishna and his devotees. Katayasva Mahabhaga Yadi Krishna Katashrayam Atava Asya Padamboja Makaranda Liham Satam. This is what Vidura told Maitreya. Vidura told Maitreya. Was it Vidura telling Maitreya? No. This is what Shaunakadi Rishis told Suta Goswami. Katayasva Mahabhaga. All these things may seem like, the questions may seem like, our questions may seem like we are interested in mundane details, but what we are requesting you, O Suta Goswami, is that Katayasva Mahabhaga. Oh, greatly fortunate Suta Goswami. Katayasva, please speak all these things. Yadi Krishna Katashrayam. Only if it has any connection with Krishna, you can speak. Atava, or else, Asya Padamboja Makaranda Liham Satam. Or else, if it has any connection with the devotees who are eager to lick the honey from the lotus feet of Krishna, then you speak. If it has no connection with the devotee and no connection with Krishna, please don't speak. This is the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dashamasya Vishuddhyartam Navanam Iha Lakshanam Varnayante Mahatmanaha Shrutena Artena Cha Anjasa. So the other 9 topics of Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Uti, etc., they are described purely to illuminate the 10th topic. Now, sometimes that illumination comes through these things also, through these ways. Attention to details is a sign of love. Attention to details is a sign of love. So sometimes these attentive hearing and asking for minute details of something which is not directly connected with Krishna is also a sign of love. Because they are able to see even that their remote connection with Krishna. So here is Parikshit Maharaj, who is asking about Vedic cosmology, and Shukadeva Goswami can tell, look, your inquisitiveness is not going to be beneficial for you. Okay. So therefore, I choose not to speak on this subject matter. I will rather choose to speak on the direct canto pastimes. Shukadeva Goswami is not doing that. Shukadeva Goswami, he is continuing to speak in great detail about the dimensions of Bhumandala. And within Bhumandala, one particular island of Jambudvip. And within Jambudvip, the multiple Varshas and all of that. And within those Varshas, you know, how different people offer different prayers to different forms of the Supreme Lord, he mentions. Okay. But even a description of the dimensions of the islands and the oceans around it is all a sign of the speaker and the hearer's love for the Supreme Lord. I mean, this is very natural to understand. You know, otherwise you will see Srila Prabhupada's disciples describing about how Srila Prabhupada would pop an apple in his mouth or an orange in his mouth and spit out the seed of that orange, and how it would bounce off the wall and fall into the dustbin. No. You know, can you imagine? Would you have the interest to hear about some other so-called spiritual leader spitting out, you know, kind of, what do you call, the seed of the seed of an orange, how it falls No, we will not be interested. He said, ridiculous, why you want to talk about such nasty things, he will say. But when the same thing is narrated about Prabhupada, we are very eager. Wow, you know, we hear with great eagerness. Hmm? We hear with great eagerness. Hmm? So that is that love, attention to details, because it has connection with Krishna. Otherwise, you could pick up a geography book and look at the maps and hear about Australia, the dimensions of Australia, what are the various rivers in Australia, various mountains in Australia. You know. But what we are doing is not that kind of a universal geography that we are discussing here. This description is a sign of love of Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami, which is shown through their attention to details because it has connection with Krishna and his devotees. Atava asya padamboja makaranda liham satam. That is what is happening here. So, yes, the breadth of Bhumandala extends as far as the sun shines, and within it, the moon and the other luminaries are seen. Tatrapi Priyavrata Rata Charana Parikataihi Saptabihi Saptasindava Upaklipta Yata Etasyaha Saptadvipa Vishesha Vikalpas Tvaya Bhagavan Khalu Suchita Etad Eva Akhilam Aham Manato Lakshanatascha Sarvam Vijigyasami. In Bhumandala, 7 oceans were created by the 7 ditches made by the wheel of Priyavrat's chariot, from which 7 islands of Bhumandala, each with distinctive construction, appeared and were described by you. O great devotee, I desire to know all about the oceans and islands with their measurements and qualities. 7 seas were created, from which 7 islands, each of distinctive construction, belonging to the earth, were formed. I desire to know all about the oceans and the islands. Bhagavato gunamaye sthula rupa aveshitam manohi agunepi sukshmatama atma jyotishi pare brahmani bhagavati vasudevakye shamam aveshitam tadu haitad guro arhasi anuvarnayitum iti. O Guru, the mind fixed on the Lord's gross form, made of matter, can absorb itself in the Supreme Brahman Bhagavan, Vasudeva, the light of the soul, who is beyond matter. Therefore, you should explain the structure of the universe. You see here. He is giving a clarification as to why he is requesting Sukadeva Goswami to describe the structure of the universe. He says that if I can absorb my mind in this observable form of the Lord, in the form of the universe, then there is a chance that I will be attracted to the form of Bhagavan, which is beyond matter. Okay. So that is what he says. This verse states the result of such an inquiry. The word Maya, by me, is not used. Parikshit does not say, by fixing my mind on the Lord's gross form. This indicates that Parikshit asked the question not for himself, but at the request of Bhakti Mishra yogis present at the gathering, who desired to concentrate their minds on the universal, on the form of the universe. So for a pure devotee who already has attraction for the personal, beautiful form of the Lord, Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam, for him, he does not have to develop attraction to that form through hearing about the universal form or through hearing about the universe. Rather, his attraction to that form of Shyamasundar stimulates an interest to also hear about the universe, which is actually a creation of that Shyamasundar. Whereas for the Bhakti Mishra yogis, it is a gradual path. First, they get attracted to the form of the universal form and gradually get purified. And when the heart becomes purified, gradually, they get attracted to the spiritual form of the Supreme Lord. But for the devotee who is already attracted to the spiritual form of the Supreme Lord, out of his natural love for that spiritual form, he becomes attracted to hear also about the universe, which is a creation of Shyamasundar. Okay. So both of them hear about the universe, but the purpose of hearing is different. The stimulus for hearing is different. I, however, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, I, however, drink with my ears the honey of topics of the Lord flowing from your lotus mouth. That is my way of attaining the Lord. The phrase Bhagavato Gunamaye Stula Rupe indicates that the gross form of the universe made of the gunas belongs to the Lord. It is thus different from the Lord. The words in the phrase Agunepi Sukshmatama Atma Jyotishi Pare Brahmani Bhagavati are all in the same case, indicating their equivalence. Bhagavan is Brahman, the light of the soul, and the finest beyond the gunas. This indicates that the Lord is beyond the gunas. O Guru, this indicates that because the Guru of all the sages, you should explain this. So that is the meaning of why he is in this particular verse. Why is he addressing Shukadeva Goswami as Guru, indicating that you are not just my Guru, but you are the Guru of all these people who can be benefited by hearing about the description of the universe. Okay. Rishi Ruvaja, Shukadeva Goswami starts answering this question. Navai Maharaja Bhagavato Maya Guna Vibhutehe Kashtam Manasa Vachasa Va Adigantum Alam Vibhuda Ayushapi Purushas Tasmat Pradhanyenaiva Bhugoloka Vishesham Nama Rupa Mana Lakshanato Vyakyasyamaha. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back. Right. Sorry. Okay, so Shukadeva Goswami answers this question. He says, O king, it is not possible even for a person with the lifespan of a devata to understand by words or mind the end of the transformations of Maya's gunas belonging to the Lord. Therefore, by giving a general description, I will explain the particulars of Bhuloka, giving characteristics of name, shape, and dimension. You know. It is not possible to describe in detail the extent of the transformations of the gunas of the Supreme Lord. That is not possible. So I'll give a generic description. Okay, that's what he says. Kashtam means end. Rupam means shape or appearance. Lakshanam means marking. Yova ayam dvipaha kuvalaya kamala koshabhyantara kosho niyuta yojana vishalaha samavartulo yata pushkara patram. Ayam dvipaha koshaha. The central portion within the seven islands, kamala kosha abhyantara, which are situated as circular coverings in the lotus, kuvalaya of Bhumandala, which is for certain this visible Jambudvip, Yovai, is 100,000 yojanas wide and is circular like a lotus leaf. Okay. And is circular like a lotus leaf. So, this is the central portion within the seven islands, which are circular, concentric circles. The seven islands are the concentric circles. The centermost island is Jambudvip. Okay. So in that, the centermost island, Jambudvip, is 100,000 yojanas wide, which means the diameter is 100,000 yojana. And one yojana is about 8 miles. 8 miles. So which means 800,000 miles wide is Jambudvip. The central portion within the seven islands situated at circular coverings in the lotus of Bhumandala. So Bhumandala is in the form of a lotus. It is in the shape of a lotus, which is for certain this visible Jambudvip is 100,000 yojanas wide. So I will not be going into detail describing the cosmology of this universe because that is certainly not my expertise. But I will ensure that you are not deprived of it. I have requested, as I mentioned yesterday, I have requested Prem Gaurang Prabhu and Pavaneshwar Prabhu to join us to describe in more detail the description of this universe. So for us now, we will, whatever I can immediately see and whatever I can immediately comprehend, I will share. Yasmin Navavarshani Navayojana Sahasrayamani Ashtabir Maryada Giribihi Suvibhaktani Bhavanti. In Jambudvip, there are nine divisions of land. So the middlemost of the seven islands, Jambudvip, is further divided into 9 divisions, each extending to a width of 9,000 yojanas. Navayojana Sahasra Ayamani. Ayama is width. Completely separated, Suvibhaktani, by Ashtabir Maryada Giribihi. Giri means mountain. Maryada Giri means the mountain which defines the border. So there are 8 mountains which divide the which divides Jambudvip into 9 sections. 8 mountains which divides Jambudvip into 9 sections, 9 varshas. So here he says Ilavrita, Bhadrashva and Ketumala are exceptions. We will see how. Ayaman here means the length. The mountain ranges include the Himalayas, not the Himalayas that we see. Okay. That Himalayas that we see in India is not exactly the Himalayas which is being spoken here. The form is described in the Vayu Purana. Dhanurvat samstite gneye dve varshe dakshinottare dirgani tatra chatvari Chaturasram Ilavratam. Two Varshas on the north and south are bow shaped. Okay, it is like this. These are bow shaped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyways, so these two are bow shaped. Four other Varshas are long and Ilavrata is square. Okay. Anyways, we will see this very soon. I think, yeah, here it is there. I don't have to draw it. The Varsha in the south is Bharata and that in the north is Uttara Kuru. The four long Varshas are Kim Purusha, Harivarsha, Ramyaka and Hiranmayani. Bhadrashva and Ketumala are also shaped like bows, bordered by Neela and Nishada mountain ranges running horizontally and entering the sea. Their width is 9,000 yojanas except for Ketumala and Bhadrashva in the middle. Ilavrata is 9,000 yojanas in all four directions from Meru, which has 16,000 yojana base. Ilavrata, Bhadrashva, Ketumala are thus 34,000 yojanas in width. 16,000 plus 9,000 plus 9,000. You see here. A Puranic conception of Jambudvip. So this is the Loka Loka mountain. Actually, this is not drawn exactly to, you can say, to scale. Not at all. Actually, a lot of details are missing. But because the focus is Jambudvip, therefore, so here this is Bharata Varsha. This is like a bow. You see? And this is Uttara Kuru. This is also like a bow. So then Uttara Kuru is separated from the Hiranmaya Varsha by Shringavan mountains. Then Hiranmaya Varsha is separated from the Ramyaka Varsha by Shweta mountains. Okay. So on top you have 1, 2, 3. Uttara Kuru, Hiranmaya and Ramyaka. And similarly in the bottom you have Bharata, Kim Purusha and Hari Varsha. So Bharata and Kim Purusha Varsha are separated by the Himavat mountain or Himalayas. And the Hemakuta mountains separate the Kim Purusha Varsha and the Hari Varsha. And then the Nishada mountain range. It separates the Hari Varsha from, Ketumala, Ilavrata and Bhadrashva. These are the three Varshas which actually border Hari Varsha from the northern side. Okay. Like that. So this is the okay, there is a more colorful photograph that has been shared in the uh, chat box. You can take a look at it. Okay. It looks like a CD. Looks like a CD with Mount Meru at the center. Okay, it looks almost like a CD. Okay. Anyways. Okay. Oh, okay. I have one more here. So this is Bharata Varsha. Length is 41.5 and width is 9,000, 41.5 thousand yojanas and length is 9,000 yojanas. Similarly, the Kim Purusha Varsha here, the Hari Varsha, Ketumala Varsha, Bhadrashva Varsha, Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, Kuru Varsha, and all of that, this is described. All the And the mountains also, their dimensions, everything is mentioned here. Anyways, I think we will continue this discussion tomorrow. We will continue this discussion tomorrow. Okay, for now, we will open up for some discussion points, comments, questions. We will see if there are any questions, either based on yesterday's discussion or today's discussion. If there is any questions, we will take now. If there are not sufficient questions, then I will cover a few more verses. Okay. There is something in the chat box. We will take that first. Okay. Please forgive if the question sounds challenging, the teachings in any way, but trying to understand. One question on Tadyanam Samarchanam. To the point of a devotee should love the relatives of a devotee, even if they are non-devotees. A non-devotee's emotion towards others is material, which is based on sense gratification, and that a devotee should not have emotional dependency on them. There is a difference between affection and emotional dependency, or a generic compassion or a goodwill and emotional dependence. These are two different things. So it sounds contradictory that a devotee should have one outlook towards his own family members who are non-devotees and a different outlook of non-devotee family members of other devotees. No, it is not like that. Our goal is the nature of the emotion may change. Towards our own family members, it could be gratitude. Okay. I would not be living now to serve the Supreme Lord if only my family members would not have supported me. Natural gratitude. Just because they are not devotees does not mean that they don't even deserve our gratitude. Gratitude is a very favorable emotion. Okay. Just because we show gratitude to them does not mean we become emotionally dependent on them. Emotional dependence is a different thing. Emotional dependence means we are looking for all solutions for our emotional issues from them. That we don't do. But that does not mean that we don't show affection. Affection can be shown. But that does not mean we become. Affection can be shown for multiple reasons. Prema, Maitri, Kripa, Upeksha. With devotees, there is Maitri. That Maitri, friendship, is a sign of showing affection, is one flavor of showing affection. Kripa. Kripa is compassion. That is another form of showing affection. So there is no question whether we have to show affection or not. But what is the nature of that affection? To devotees, it is Maitri. But with non-devotees, it is Kripa, compassion. With the desire that I have received so much from this personality, I should act in such a way that this person also comes closer to Krishna, because that is the best way I can repay this person for whatever he has given me, for whatever help I have received from this person. That is not emotional dependence. That emotional dependence, or a healthy emotional dependence, is what is described in Bhagavatam as Maitri. Maitri, where you are looking forward to an exchange. Whereas with the non-devotees, you are looking forward to give. And the return that you get is happiness in seeing them receive what you are giving. Okay. That affection is needed. So the flavor or the nature of that affection is different. And that flavor of dependence, that flavor of affection does not create emotional dependence. That does not create emotional dependence. Okay, there is another question. I want to know What form of the Lord is the object of worship or meditation for a Jnana Yogi or an Ashtanga Yogi? Yeah, it could be any form, any personal form. Generally, it would be a form which stimulates awe and reverence. Generally, maybe the form of Lord Narayana. Earlier, I thought the Jnana Yogi and Ashtanga Yogi also know the Lord as a personal form, but do not want to have a relationship with the Lord or offer loving devotional service. And that's the difference. But now I assume the object of worship and meditation for going to Brahman or to Paramatma could be different forms of the Lord. No, it could be the same form, just that their object of worship is a personal form, but their object of their the goal may be to attain the Brahman, but their uh, but when it comes to worship of a personal form, they may be attracted to generally a form which inspires awe and reverence, a form of Lord Narayana, like that. Okay. Any other quick question? Anything from yesterday? Some leftover discussion points, comments? Okay. If there is none, then let us cover few more. Okay, there is one hand up. Yes, Pavan Gaurang.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhu, for today's discussion. And you are explaining about how the Tadaya of the devotee is also very important. Prabhu, my question is the first one. I think this is from your Bhagavatam class when you gave the recent one in the Chaupati. In that, you are discussing about the differential respect. Do you remember, Prabhu?
Yeah.
One point, yeah, differential respect. And there you mentioned about you are sharing about the delta values. Like for example, if we give respect 100 units of 100 units to one non-devotee, and if we give the same 100 units respect to the devotee, then the delta value is zero. So he will be a prakruta, like a kanishta, and the differential respect is for a devotee, he is giving 20 units, and non-devotee, if you are giving 10 units, then the differential delta value is 10, so he will be in Madhyama, like that you
Madhyamadika.
are mentioning. And
Yeah.
delta value, if it is less than 0, then he is like a he
Dveshi.
is a Deshi.
Yeah.
So now what about the devotee, one who is having the, he doesn't discriminate, no Prabhu. For him, what is the delta value? And you also mentioned about the differential respect. What does it mean, the differential respect, Prabhu?
Differential respect means you give at least little more respect to a devotee than you give to a non-devotee. Which means a Madhyamadikari may be in general, he may be a disrespectful person. But in showing disrespect, he may show little less disrespect towards the devotees because he thinks, oh, the devotees are better than non-devotees. Just by that person being a devotee in itself qualifies that person to receive little higher respect at least. When he thinks like that, then he's a Madhyamadikari.
Okay. Then what about this Uttamadhikari? How you will define with the delta? I mean, the uh,
Ah, so that Uttamadikari, it's not that he does not want to discriminate, but because his heart is permeated with prema, he is seeing that prema in everyone.
yeah.
So,
Then uh,
so he shows respect to everyone.
and almost he
So
like for him the delta value also it appears like that
it,
zero.
it,
Is
it
it
might
correct?
be zero. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for that, you have to see other symptoms also.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, for example, how do you identify diamond? So someone may say a diamond is very hard. Okay. But you say that, oh, a stone is also very hard. Hmm. So you cannot say, so which means you have to give additional,
Mm.
um, you know,
Like. Characteristics.
symptoms of
Yeah.
diamond, characteristics of diamond. So, yes, the Kanishtadhikari and the Uttamadhikari, they have in common that they don't discriminate. So, but that is just one symptom. There are other symptoms. Shantir, Avyartha Kalatvam, Viraktir, Mana Shunyata, Ashabandha, Samatkanta, Namaganya, Sadharuchi. So those symptoms will not be there in a Kanishtadhikari.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So if you say that, an Uttamadhikari also does not discriminate, Kanishtadhikari also does not discriminate, are they both same? No, this is like telling
No.
that stone is hard, diamond is hard.
Diamond.
But apart from that diamond, you have other characteristics of diamond also.
Yes. Yes. Good. Yes, bro. It appears that Prakrita and Kanishta, and if you see in that mathematical calculation, it appears that they are showing zero. But if you add the characteristics to the devotee, then the discrimination we will able to see. That's na, Prabhu. As a
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
disrespectful mood, Uttamadhikari, he is not discriminating, but he has complete in relation with the Lord.
See,
He is not.
yeah, there is a difference between a Prakrita Bhakta not discriminating and a perfected devotee not discriminating. A Prakrita Bhakta,
Okay.
he sees that why should I give more respect to a devotee?
Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
The Uttama Bhakta sees everyone as a devotee, that's why he gives great respect. Okay.
Oh,
So both of them are not. So the
I'm saying
Prakrita
that.
Bhakta is
Mm.
not convinced that a devotee deserves more respect. Whereas an Uttamadhikari is convinced that a
Okay.
devotee deserves great respect. And because of his prema, he is seeing everyone as a devotee.
Mm.
Therefore, he is giving great respect to everyone.
Oh, yes.
That is the
And also you
difference.
mentioned about the as the differential respect is increasing, is that our devotional progress is we are able to see. That mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, bro.
Right. It's Keshav Prema.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, in introduction, you were telling that sometimes we may be attracted to pastimes more. So, and we are not attracted to such topics like creation, cosmology, which is also by the Lordship only, by his various energy. So that means there is a sentimental understanding of Krishna's pastime, like that you're telling, Prabhuji.
It can be. It can be that more
Mm.
of a sentimental attachment.
Mm.
Not that it is bad.
Oh.
I'm not using the word sentiment as necessarily completely bad,
Mm.
but it may not necessarily be born out of genuine love.
Mm. Prabhuji, generally we understand, Prabhuji, even gopis, though they don't seem like looking the Aishwarya of the Lordship, but Prabhupada's written in a purport that they 100% they know about it, but they choose not to get distracted by that. Like, so
Yeah,
any pure devotee or wonderful devotee who may be in personal relationship with the Lordship, they would have understood his Aishwarya 100%, but they have decided to go still deeper in a personal relationship like that only, na Prabhuji.
yeah,
So in that case, if someone has come to a stage of relishing the pastimes truly, means then the Aishwarya also they would be enjoying only, Prabhuji. Maybe they may not be distracted, but they'll be enjoying only. Like that only you're trying to say, Prabhuji, that
yeah,
getting attracted to pastime, but not attracted means that means we have not understood the Lordship properly. Is it like that, Prabhuji?
yeah. We are
So
not
that's
able to
an.
see the connection. We are not able
Mm,
to make the connection of
mm,
the things of this world, the universe itself with the Supreme Lord.
mm. And the example you said with your father is very much we are able to relate, Prabhuji, because if I love Krishna in any form, in any pastimes, anything, then every detail about Krishna also should attract me like that. It's quite
Yeah,
relatable, Prabhuji, that analogy you used, we are able to relate. So, yeah, really, you are setting the just like In Bhagavad Gita, there is a setting of scene. Before this cosmology session, you have set a scene to us. You created that inquisitiveness or some inspiration in us to hear these sessions with much more care also, Prabhuji. Thank you for inspiring us this way. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay. If there are no further discussion points, we still have about 15 minutes time. Let us discuss few more verses. येषां मध्ये इलावृतं नाम अभ्यन्तरवर्षं यस्य नाभ्याम् अवस्थितः सर्वतः सौवर्णः कुलगिरिराजो मेरुः द्वीप आयाम समुन्नाहः कर्णिकाभूतः कुवलयकमलस्य मूर्धनि 32 सहस्रयोजनविततो मूले 16 सहस्रं तावद् आन्तर्भूम्यां प्रविष्टः. In the center of these is Ilavrata, in the center of which is Meru, the king of mountains made of gold, whose height is the length of Jambudvipa and which acts as the pericarp of the lotus of Bhumandala. At its top, it measures 32,000 yojanas, and at the base it measures 16,000 yojanas. It extends 16,000 yojanas within the earth. Nabhyam means inside. The island is 100,000 yojanas long. That is the height of the mountain. At the base, it spreads out for 16,000 yojanas. Since it extends 16,000 yojanas within the earth, 84,000 yojanas of Meru are visible above the ground. So this is the thing. So this is Jambudvipa, whose diameter is 100,000 yojanas. It is surrounded by saltwater ocean. Okay. So now, the height of Sumeru is 100,000 yojanas, of which 16,000 yojanas is below the Bhumandala disk. Okay, so 84,000 is above the ground. Okay, and in this truncated conical structure of Meru, the bottom diameter is 16,000 yojanas and the top diameter is 32,000 yojanas. And this Sumeru is in the middle of the Ilavrata Varsha. Okay, like that. उत्तरोत्तरेण इलावृतं नीलः श्वेतः शृङ्गवान् इति त्रयो रम्यक हिरण्मय कुरूणां वर्षाणां मर्यादागिरयः प्राग् आयाता उभयतः क्षारोदावधेधयो 2,000 पृथव एकैकशः पूर्वस्मात् उत्तरो दशांशाधिकांशेन धैर्य एव प्रसन्ति. Just north of Ilavrata Varsha and going further northward, one after another are three mountains named Neela, Shweta and Shringavan. These mark the borders of the three Varshas named Ramyaka, Hiranmaya and Kuru and separate them from one another. The width of these mountains is 2,000 yojanas. Lengthwise, they extend east and west to the ocean of salt water. The length of each mountain decreases by a little more than 10% compared to the previous mountain because it's a circular thing, right? So when you're going from the diameter downwards or upwards, the length of that cord will keep decreasing. Okay. And here he says it decreases by 10%. So if it decreases by 10%, by that you can understand the width of each of the Varsha. Simple geometry. North of Ilavrata are the mountain ranges starting with Neela. The mountains extend on the east and west to the salt ocean. The mountains after Neela become shorter, then 100,000 yojanas by a little over 10% each. Again, same thing. You see here. This is the longest. This is 10% of Hemakuta's length is 10% of Nishada. And Himalaya's length is 10% of Hemakuta. By 10% it keeps decreasing. So it decreases by 10% or it becomes 10%. I don't think it becomes 10%. It must be decreases by 10%, right? Yeah, this is wrong. This is wrong. Okay, this is 93,300, but this should not be 9,330. It must be 93,300 minus 9,330. It must be like that. Anyways, I have made this calculation of lengths of Nila, Shweta, and Shringavan mountains. Anyways, it's okay. Some trigonometry. Even I am not so keen on discussing it. I don't even remember. That's been a long time. Anyways, evam dakshinena ilavritam निषदो हेमकूटो हिमालय इति प्राग आयाता यथा नीलादयो अयुत योजन उत्सेदा हरिवर्ष किम पुरुष भारतानाम यथा सांख्यम. Similarly, south of Ilavrita Varsha and extending from east to west are three great mountains named Nishada, Hemakuta, and Himalaya. Each of them is 10,000 yojanas high, similar to Nila and the rest. They mark the boundaries of the three Varshas named Harivarsha, Kimpurusha Varsha, and Bharata Varsha. So they are 10,000 yojanas in height. Nila and the other mountains to the north of Ilavrita are the same height. The width of these mountains is the same as Nila. They mark the boundaries respectively of these Varshas. Again, same thing. Himalaya, Hemakuta, and Nishada. So this Nishada separates Harivarsha from Ketumala Varsha and Ilavrita Varsha and Bhadrashva Varsha. And Malyavan and Gandhamadana, they separate Ketumala Varsha. Malyavan separates Ketumala and Ilavrita, and Gandhamadana separates Bhadrashva and Ilavrita. Like that. Tataivelavritam aparena purvena cha Malyavad Gandhamadanav Anila Nishada Ayutau Dvisahasram Papratuhu Ketumala Bhadrashvayoho Simanam Vidadate. In the same way, west and east of Ilavrita Varsha are two great mountains named Malyavan and Gandhamadana, respectively. These two mountains, which are 2,000 yojanas high, extend as far as Nila mountain in the north and Nishada in the south. They produce the borders of the Varshas known as Ketumala and Bhadrashva. Again, we know this same thing. In the west and east directions extend in length to Nila in the north and Nishada in the south. They are 34,000 yojanas in length. In a line from south to north, Bharata, Kimpurusha, and Harivarsha are 27,000 yojanas in total. 9,000 yojanas each in width. The mountains Himalaya, Hemakuta, and Nishada, each 2,000 yojanas, make 6,000 yojanas in total. Sumeru and Ilavrita are 34,000 yojanas wide. Ramyaka, Hiranyamaya, and Kuru are 27,000 yojanas in total. Nila, Shweta, and Shringavan are a total of 6,000 yojanas. The total comes to 100,000 yojanas. Measuring from east to west, Bhadrashva is 31,000 yojanas. Sumeru and Ilavrita are 34,000 yojanas, and Ketumala is 31,000 yojanas. So 31 plus 31 plus 34. The Gandhamadana and Malyavan mountains are 4,000 yojanas each. The total across is also 100,000 yojanas. So you see here, this is 31, this is 31, this is 34. So 31 plus 31 plus 34 is 96. And these two are two, you know, 2000 yojanas in width, Dandamadhan and Malyavan. So this is 31 plus 2, 33. This is 31 plus 2, 33. 33 plus 33, 66. Plus 34 is the width of, what is this Varsha? Ilavarta Varsha. So 66 plus 34 is 100. Okay, like that. Okay. We still have about 6 minutes time. Are there any quick questions? If not, we will wind up here. Okay. Thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay, before you drop out, there's still 82 devotees still there. So today afternoon, we are starting a new course. Those of you who may be aware, I've been sending those reminders. Today afternoon and evening, we are starting 2 new courses. Afternoon, we are starting Tattva Sandarbha, because Bhakti Sandarbha is over. We are starting with Tattva Sandarbha in the afternoon. And in the evening, we are starting Ragavartma Chandrika. I think the beginning, I mentioned, was it yesterday? Yesterday I mentioned. And in the evening, 7 to 8:30, because Unspoken Obstacles course is over. So we are starting with Ragavartma Chandrika, which is a small book where Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives beautiful insights into Raganuga Bhakti. And of course, in this course, we will be discussing from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Bhakti Sandarbha also. So it's not going to be an exclusive course on Ragavartma Chandrika, but with Ragavartma Chandrika as the framework, we will also try to add some details from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Bhakti Sandarbha. Ragavartma Chandrika in itself, presents Raganuga Bhakti with Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as the framework. Okay. Anyways, just to inform you. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.